Welcome to another episode of the 2000 AD Creator Tapes Earthlets. I'm your host, Molch-R, and on this episode, it's the second part of our massive interview with John Wagner, the co-creator behind Judge Dredd and Strontium Dog, and so many more incredible comics. I hope you enjoyed the first episode. If you've not listened to that one, please go back and do so. On this one, some interesting what ifs. A Doomlord movie for anybody who remembers that from Eagle, as well as him reflecting on his friendship with Alan Grant, Ezquerra, things that could have been, and rounding things off with a bit of a reflection on what could have been different if he'd stuck around at the very beginning of 2000 AD and had been on Judge Dredd, his great creation from the very beginning. About halfway through, we switch over from the pub to his living room, so less chatter in the background, more roaring fire and occasional intervention from the dog. Do let us know what you think about this latest episode, Earthlets. Pop your comments in the comments underneath the YouTube video, on Facebook, and on Blue Sky. If you want to get in touch directly with us at the Thrillcast, it's thrillcast, all one word, at 2000ad.com. So without much further ado, let's crack on with this fascinating interview with the master, the big Ian, John Wagner. With the opening of Death of a Judge, you've done this before, and Rob Williams has started doing this as well to a certain extent. Starting off a story in the Council of Five and setting the scene. How useful is that? Just to, a lot of writers overuse exposition, particularly in comics. But when you've basically got all the people in charge in a room and they can talk it out and let the reader know what's happening because they're all contextualizing what's about to happen. Is that just like a favoured way of starting a story for you?
It's handy for exposition.
Yeah.
And to set the scene. It was kind of necessary in Death of a Judge too, because of the Chief Judge's involvement in the whole thing. And I suppose I didn't have to use them, but why not? It worked. It worked really well with the opening, with blood on Dredd's hands, and that really that worked there. It was handy to have that set up so that we could see that and see how Dredd's reasoning went. Yeah. Because he is ambivalent about it, or he has been ambivalent. I mean, he doesn't trust them, but he sees that they're actually better. Yeah. And so I don't trust robot cars, but you look at all the accidents that people, bad drivers have. Young kids continually killing themselves once they learn to drive, and robots would be better. So Dredd knows that robot judges are good, but he just always needs convincing.
And I'm really struck in the opening as well that you've got, and you've done this before, you've got the contrast between the kind of the hive-minded rhetoric happening in the lofty reaches of the whole of justice, and then you've got what's happening on the streets because there's a block war, and that's where Farouk gets killed, and Judge is the span, is the bridge between those two worlds. It has the way that you, taking into account that you start a story and you don't necessarily know where it's going, has the way that you structure these things as they go on, has that just become second nature, or are you aware?
It's always a struggle.
Always, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only like halfway through the story that I begin to see where I'm going.
Right.
And that's a good thing, because it always leaves openings for the unexpected to happen, for a story to change direction. So I didn't know what was going to happen when I started that story. I don't think I had the faintest idea.
Is there another way it could have gone?
Oh yeah, loads of ways, but I'm quite pleased with the way this one went, because it had a nice roundness to it.
Yeah.
And when the judge dies, and I won't go into that.
No. I mean, there's going to be spoiler tags on this, so and I don't think I'm going to put it out until the last episode has gone out. So don't worry about spoiling the story.
Yeah, well, when the judge dies at the end, it is so nicely rounded, and it changes things.
Right.
For Dredd, and I hope for Mega City 1.
Yeah.
Maybe in the end the judges will become redundant, human ones.
Yeah.
And they can all go down to Miami.
Wait, Miami doesn't exist anymore, John. You nuked it.
Oh, did I? Okay. I forget these things. It's hard to remember it all. I often think they should have a continuity editor.
Right.
That kept it, I mean, like, all the various, the reason it has so many different blocks is I could never remember which ones I used. So I had to keep thinking of, like, things like Dean Gaffney. I always knew Dean Gaffney was a slum block.
But the thing is, I don't see any of this as a bug. I think it's a feature. The comics can become hidebound by continuity.
That's true. That's very true.
And
American superhero.
Exactly. And which is ridiculous when you consider that they've been rebooted so many times. With Dredd, there is that risk because supposedly it proceeds within linear time.
How many chains on his badge?
I don't care, John.
No, I don't care. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you what was on one shoulder and what was on the other. I really don't care.
Yeah.
I just fucking hated the uniform, always did. No, I don't now.
Wait, you know what? It's one of the questions I was going to ask was, of course, the Dredd, as you'd originally envisaged, was a near future.
Yeah.
It was like 30 years in the future.
Not that much, yeah.
And then you walked away from the character. When you came back to the character, it was 122 years in the future.
Yeah. Probably for the better.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, was what your feelings were on it at the time.
And yet you see a lot of Dreddian things going on right now.
Yeah.
But probably for the better, because it gave us a lot of leeway. It's like calling it 2000 AD.
Yeah.
and it doesn't bother you anymore, does it?
No. I mean, this is a question that Nick G sent in on Blue Sky. Is Dredd's world now not extreme enough? Because in many respects, we're catching up quite rapidly with how it was originally portrayed. Is it now beyond parody?
I think it always has been.
Right.
Kind of. That's one thing Alan always claimed, and with some truth in it, that one of the reasons that Dredd didn't go down better in America was that a lot of the things that were in Dredd were already happening in America, like the fatties and all that. It was already such an extreme culture.
Yeah.
That Dredd didn't seem so, outlandish.
Yeah.
I don't know. Extreme. I think it's still as extreme as you want it. You know, I can see his point, but how extreme do you want it?
Well, I think it's in the kind of like over time, a lot of the comedic elements, the very, very silly elements, have, to a degree, faded. There's been the occasional story, and particularly in your writing, over time, and certainly in sort of the last certainly since Origins, I've felt that
I've abandoned them.
Well, not that you've abandoned them, but you've moved back to your influences, which is in noir, and
there are elements of them and little touches now and then, but by and large, things like the guy with the huge nose,
Citizen Snork.
I mean that doesn't happen. Well, I mean, fatties are still there. But I just don't use that kind of thing.
Is that because you've grown beyond the need for it, or is it that you're not necessarily finding the humour in it?
I think I was searching for stories way back, and I'm just bit here, bit there. Try this, try that. See what suits, and after a while, what suited me was the authoritarian regime, and Dredd as villain, and Dredd as hero, a bit of both.
Yeah.
I mean, that was kind of the difference between the way he was portrayed in early Dredd stories and the way I saw him. I always saw him as much a villain as a hero.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the reason that he's been so popular, is that he is. He's like a human Judge Death.
Yeah. Well, I think it's one of the reasons why Judge Death works so well, because he's not the opposite of Dredd. He's the natural extent. He's the logical conclusion of Dredd's evil.
Yeah. He's got his code.
Yeah. Yeah. He may not agree with it, but
he sticks to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Why do you think your portrayal of Dredd has changed over time? In that there was a whole stretch when you and Alan were working together, very often Dredd was almost a side character. He would often turn up at the end of the story. Maybe at the beginning, he'd turn up at the end to arrest somebody.
Yeah. I don't know why that would have been. It was quite interesting. I mean, we wrote whole episode, well, at least one where he just didn't appear.
Yeah.
I think we were still trawling for stories and trying to find out what worked and what didn't work, and having fun too. Exploring the world, exploring the city as a character.
Yeah.
There was so much fun in it, and so much mileage, that sometimes Dredd actually got in the way. God, we got to write him in.
It's interesting reading your life in comic stuff when you're talking about when you were working in girls' comics and in kids' comics. That's where you picked up this ability to just keep the ideas flowing. So, was it the Can Do Kids where they got the proto-citizen Snork, the guy with a really big nose? And it's just, you're looking for the hook, you're looking for the thing that gets you into the story, that gives you a narrative.
Also something that comes out well in art. Like we did a hairy guy, where somebody couldn't stop growing hair. So he was a really good artist, Cruz, or Cruth. That's a lot of it. You try and think. I mean, I don't think particularly visually, but obviously with comics, that there's a visual element to it, and so you try and think, well, what's going to look good? And once you get the idea, well, you leave the rest to the artists. And I've been blessed with a lot of really good artists working on my stuff. And I'm just happy to leave that to you. I'm not going to try and tell you what to do. You just take that away. fucking hell, he looks like a Spanish fucking pirate. I'm not going to write that fucking... But he was right.
But he was right, and thank God he was. But also, what would the Dark Judges have been without Brian?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And that's happened.
What would the Angel Gang have been like without Mike?
Exactly.
Or Mick.
Mick. And Chopper without Ron and Cam.
Cam, yeah.
You know?
Well, especially Cam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Kenny Who. I've been so lucky. Lucky with artists.
Is there anybody you wanted to have collaborated with, but you didn't get the chance?
Bill Sienkiewicz.
Oh, really? Oh, wow, fantastic choice. Yeah.
I love Bill's artwork.
Yeah, because he did those Titan covers in the 80s, didn't he, for the collected editions?
Often they had nothing to do with the story, but they were great covers.
My favourite one is the multimedia one. It's got a light. On the original artwork, there's like a battery-operated light in the middle of it, but of course you can't show that on the cover. Yeah, no, I had a chat with him at San Diego a few years ago, and he was like, those are some of my favourite pieces of work. Which is
I love his. He sort of does an illustration a day. That's the thing about artists; they can't stop bloody drawing. Me, you try and get me to the computer to write. It's like, I don't know. It's just like dragging a bullock to the slaughterhouse. But artists, and Bill's always putting up great illustrations too. It's just that an artist seems to be born to draw.
What kind of story would you have done with Bill Sienkiewicz?
Heaven knows. Oh. Yeah, I probably wouldn't have been up to writing for him, but it would have been weird.
Yeah.
Brian wanted to do another story, and I did one for him, but he never drew it. I think he was disappointed in it. I probably didn't suit him. It was Fat Fathers or something.
Right. I mean, it's difficult though, because so this does come to a point that we need to tackle, one of the elephants in the room. The fans would very much like it if you and Brian and Mick and Carlos and Cam were immortal, and Alan, of course.
Am I not? Fucking hell.
Yeah. And could just
I've
keep
been
going
living
and going.
Under this misapprehension. But we just kept going, yeah.
But it's
there's always a new team coming up, and there's some good people working. Good art. I look at Dan Cornwell. Look at Jock. Look at Henry Flint.
Oh, Henry's stuff on what was the story they just did? The horror one, To the Sea Return. Just breathtaking. I think at one point he put something like 22 panels on the page.
And there's good writers too, like Ken Neiman and Rob Williams and others, so you're not really going to miss me, folks. Maybe a little bit.
Do you think sometimes people get hung up on things like, what's canon and what can change and what should be, who gets to say?
I can understand how they get upset when things aren't right.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen a story in Dredd that I thought, no way. Dredd would not have done that.
Yeah.
And I actually complained to Matt, and he told me to fuck off. Not so many words.
I was just about to say, I don't think I've ever heard that man swear.
No. He's done amazing work, lasting in that job so long and keeping it all going. But there are things I've seen in Dredd that bother me. I said that I would not have had that, and I'd have said to the writer, think again.
Yeah.
But I'm not in charge.
I mean, you do have experience as an editor. Was there ever a time you were like, oh, actually, I should be in charge?
No, I'd had enough by the time I left. I mean, it's the hardest job well, I'm sure there are worse, harder jobs, but it was too hard for me.
Yeah.
It's, I probably said this before, that you could work 24 hours a day for 7 days a week and still not get your comic the way you wanted it. And I think with the magazine, when it started out, I was pretty happy with that, but there were still big flaws.
Yeah.
And I don't know how long it would have taken me to get round them, but
Thank you.
thank you. It is a very difficult job being an editor. And I realized at one point it would be far better for me just to concentrate on my own little world.
Yeah.
And I'd be much happier. And I have been. It was the best decision I ever made, was to quit.
Right.
And I think IPC felt it was the best decision I could ever have made. I led a rebellion against John Sanders, or I tried to.
Right.
I was drinking a lot at the time, and I just thought that editors were more serfs than editors, and I wanted more power. And I tried to organize an editors meeting, and certain editors were worm-tongued, and they went to Sanders and Wagner's at this, and they're meeting in the Mucky Duck.
When was
meeting.
This?
Yeah, this was back in Fleetway.
Right.
We had a meeting in the White Swan.
Right.
And anyway, I went to see Sanders the next day with my resignation letter. Told him I didn't really want to resign because I had work to do. Anyway, it was stupid, really stupid.
Did that sour the relationship at all with?
Well, he never liked me.
Oh, right, okay.
And when it came to, he never wanted to use me again. Like,
Right.
Pat Mills had to hide my involvement in 2000 AD from Sanders. What Pat did was he wrote episodes of stories and paid me for them so that he could use me as an assistant.
Right.
Without telling Sanders. Because, Sanders hated me. And with reason. I was no friend of him.
Yeah.
I could tell you a few things, but I'm not going to. I'm going to tell you.
Maybe when I turn this off.
Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent.
But I think if I had been in his position, I'd have hated me too. I would probably have sacked me.
Right.
I would definitely have sacked me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair though I am. But no, I found it actually being an editor quite stressful.
Yeah.
And I was too young to handle it. I think as editors went, I was probably better than average, but I was still not good enough. It was only once, the magazine was the first time I felt that as an editor I was any good. I wasn't, David Bishop came in to sort of overlook the whole thing, and Steve McManus had some say in it as well. But I felt I did a pretty good job getting all the stories ready on the magazine. I didn't do a good enough job with the business in the centre spread. I can't remember what it was called. It was a sort of like a Megacity News.
Oh, the Megacity Times kind of. Yeah.
It could have been good. I was actually trying to riff off, there was a Jethro Tull album called, was it Thick as a Brick?
Right.
And the album was all about just made up stories about one particular character, which I loved.
Yeah.
And so I was sort of trying to riff off that and do a good sort of private eye Megacity magazine. But, I never got it quite right, and the chap we got to do it for us He was a sort of comedian of sorts.
Okay.
And I don't think he ever really got it was always a bit too British.
Right.
Like he would use words like bonkers.
Yeah.
And I know they use that in America now, but they didn't then, and I was always fighting against that. Anyway, I never got that right. I didn't get all the stories right, but I got them quite right. Although people really dislike Young Death now.
The what?
Young Death.
Oh,
a lot of people do.
Right. The thing is, I love Young Death. Maybe, you know, I will accept that some of the later comedy stories I'm not so keen on. But Young Death itself, I mean, Peter Doherty on artwork alone.
I know, it was great, yeah.
It's fantastic.
And Mrs. Gunderson was my mother.
Oh, really? Perfect. was she really that deaf?
Oh, yeah.
Oh
yeah. She didn't have specs like that. That was
right.
I think I told Peter to draw her with those sort of opticians. It was, I mean, I don't like people messing with her. I've seen people messing with her.
Yeah.
Because she's still my mum.
Right.
And I always felt that although I was having a laugh, it was an affectionate portrait.
Yeah, but it's your laugh to have, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, but then, you know, I'm gone and I can't really control that anymore. So it's like Strontium Dog. I mean, I don't look at what people do with it now, but I didn't feel it was right to stop doing it because it would affect, you know, they might make a film of it. It would affect royalties for Carlos's wife.
Sure.
You know, why stop it? You know, just because I don't want to do it anymore, it doesn't.
And I you know, from the way that you talk about Strontium Dog, the way that Carlos talked about Strontium Dog, that was a really personal series.
Yeah.
For you guys.
Yeah, it was. We felt we'd had Dredd stolen from us.
Right.
And Strontium Dog was, well, it was our thing.
Yeah.
There have since been things that I felt were more us, like Al's Baby. And Spectre was going to be. But Strontium Dog, we worked hard at it, and Carlos's art once again was just amazing. Yeah. What a creator he was.
I mean, I was going to ask, it's been, but it'll be 8 years this year since he passed away. Trying to ask this question without it sounding either mawkish or offensive, but how do you feel about him passing now? How, you know?
Oh, I wish he was still here.
Yeah.
It was Jenny and I were up in London. And we were going to see Hamilton, and we heard about it on the morning. We went to see Hamilton. I hate Hamilton. I mean, I don't think I'd have liked it that much anyway, because it was all too much on one plane.
Sure.
But
the association.
Yeah, the association. It was just, it's like when I heard about Alan, I was in Birmingham Airport on my way to Aviles for a comic convention, and that was a bit of a miserable time as well.
I bet.
So, terrible to think all these good people gone.
I mean, I was going to ask about Alan because, I mean, that time I got you both on Zoom.
Yeah.
It didn't quite work because there was a bit of a delay, and you know, it didn't quite flow as we'd hoped. But
I think probably Alan knew he was dying then.
Right.
I should have looked into it more. Should have asked him. I never went to see him because I didn't realise he was so ill.
Right.
Yeah, that was a bit of a bum interview. There was something that was.
Yeah, I edited it and put it. We had like a tribute episode with Garth and I'm trying to remember the DC editor's name.
Dan Raspler?
Dan Raspler. They were both at New York Comic Con,
right?
And so we did like a tribute episode, and then I'd heavily edited what we'd got on Zoom with you and Alan, and it flowed a lot better without the weird pauses and the ums and the ahs and talking over each other. But even though you'd obviously not worked directly together for some time, you don't.
I think the last thing we'd done was the last part of the Bogeyman.
Yeah. I mean, that's a really personal work for the two of you, isn't it?
Yeah. I think Alan felt that he had not been treated fairly towards the end, and certainly not by DC. I mean, his time on Batman was a terrific run.
Well, it was incredible that all the writers and artists who came out, when the news got out about his death, and they went, well, it's foundational, Virtually everything that happened with Batman after that point, that was one of the foundational aspects of, him and it was Norman Brayfogle.
He was incredibly creative on it too. Yeah. The number of villains that he created. It was very together the whole period, and Norm dying as well.
Yeah.
God, there's so many people have departed since we all set out. It's hard to think of them all.
And you were also young as well when you started.
Yeah.
There was like a whole generation, all roughly the same age, all came up together. Yeah. Made this impact, many of them went off to careers in America. You continued on 2000 AD. I mean, that's a hell of a legacy.
Yeah. Oh, one of my fondest memories is Ian Kennedy. He told me he didn't like Dredd, didn't understand it, and then he came to see what was all in it.
Yeah.
And when he presented me with a Dredd sketch.
Oh, right.
Yeah. He was a great guy. We became quite good friends.
I'll never forget, it was during the first year or so of the pandemic, and I'd got him on Zoom for the podcast, and we chatted for, must have been 2 hours. And it started off, and I was like, oh, he's got a funny mark. The camera wasn't very good. He's got a funny mark on the side of his head. After about 20 minutes, I was like, is that mark getting bigger? After about 40 minutes, I was like, it's down his face. And I went, are you okay, Ian? And he went, yeah. I fell over earlier and I cut my head. My wife's bandaged it up. I hadn't realised it was bleeding. Like, oh my God, and he's still doing the interview. He's chatting very merrily away, like really personable. Anybody else would have cancelled, Yeah. But no, really, really lovely chap. And it's one of the joys of the podcast has been to be able to sit down and have long chats with people that actually kind of do get ignored by the wider comics press.
We were in Glasgow. We went to this pub after the convention with Ian and actually Dan Cornwell and Becky. And after it, we couldn't get a taxi, and it was about a mile back to the hotel. And now I'm getting towards the age Ian was. And I was thinking, Jesus Christ, poor guy had to walk. He could, when we went to a restaurant earlier, it was hard enough him just walking 200 yards up a hill, and he had to walk all this way. Poor fellow.
So the time comes to leave the pub and head over to John's gaff, where we sit down with a glass of wine, a roaring fire, and more chat. I used to have friends, Scottish friends, well, Glaswegian friends, let's put it that way, who lived in Leeds, and they would have a Burns night supper, and their great delight was in getting me, the most English person they knew, to read out the Ode to the Haggis.
Right.
And because doing it because attempting a Scottish accent would have been virtually a hate crime, I just read it normally. And everyone really enjoyed it, but there was just something wrong. I used to try my best. Do you know what? The first time I ever knew that poem existed was Anderson's Side Division, and it was Triad, drawn by Arthur Ranson, written by Alan, where there's a Burns Night Supper in Mega City 1, and a massive ram head bursts through the wall and says, "Burns Night, I'll give you burns," and sets everybody on fire. Like, it's a miracle I'm not... well, it's a miracle I'm as well adjusted as I am, to be honest with you.
You know, if you read my... the beginning of my life story, you know that my uncle was a piper.
Yeah.
And he used to relate this to... There's a line in Tam O'Shanter, which I memorised most of, could I still do most of it. Where it goes, "Tam, Tam, they'll get thy ferrin. In hell they'll roast you like a heron." And so he'd been piping at this Burns supper. He'd piped in the haggis. And at the end of it, the toastmaster gives him a dram. And he says, "Piper, here's a ferrin." And this really drunk guy gets up, "In hell they'll roast you like a heron." But, that's it. I'm sorry.
No. What was I going to ask you about? Oh, we were going to talk about Spectre.
Yeah.
Because it feels very much like a return to your kind of influences. What was it about the Maltese Falcon, those books like that, I mean, were they the kind of things that inspired you to be a writer?
I've more watched the films.
Oh, right, okay.
Than read the books. Chandler, clever, but I always found him a bit difficult to plough through.
Dashiell Hammett.
Dashiell Hammett, yeah. And people like Mickey Spillane, he was too cheap and nasty. I didn't like him. Robbie Morrison's a favourite. I think he's done awfully well.
Yeah.
The guy I read most of, although I'm getting a wee bit sick of him, is Michael Connolly.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I've read every book of his.
Right. What's the appeal there?
He writes good, straightforward detective stuff with characters you like, plots that are interesting and followable, but he's not too up himself, and it's good procedural stuff. Yeah. So I like that a lot. I also read things like Joseph O'Connor. Do you read him?
No.
The Master and Commander.
Oh, yeah.
All the nautical stuff. I'm very fond of nautical books like Cruel Sea and C.S. Forster, Hornblower stuff.
I mean, is that where the desire to return to HMS Nightshade came from?
Yeah, had I been alive during the Second World War, I would have joined the Navy.
Right.
And probably drowned. Most of my love of noir comes from film rather than actually reading the books. Yeah. And most of the books I like are things like nautical books and westerns, good western, and John Steinbeck's America, that sort of thing. Yeah. But I used to read just what was in the house, so there was quite a wide selection. I must say I gave Lady Chatterley's Lover a good reading through.
I mean, you got to take it where you find it.
Yeah, well, it was pretty sexy for me at that age. That cunt. But there's a lot of Jane Austen and a lot of Dickens. So I read a lot of the old classics. I read, and I was pretty into those. But
one of the things I always liked about your work is, you know, you can talk about Mega City One as a character, but it's those individual citizens who, for me, have always struck me as quite Dickensian. So it's interesting that you mentioned that. You know, you something like Citizen Snork, even Chopper's parents.
Yeah.
You know, headbutting eggs into a bin. There's something perversely Dickensian about that.
Yeah. I did read a lot of Dickens. Yeah. But you were talking about noir. I do love noir as a genre, and the Carlos's illustration was his illustrations were very future noir. It was a character that one of many that Alan and I asked Carlos to do 3 or 4 different character sketches for stories that we might write.
Oh, okay.
One was this Western guy, a preacher. He had a sort of flat cap with a straw coming out of his mouth and a derringer and a Bible. Right. And he was called Judas Gunn, which is quite a good name. And he was Carlos drawn him. He was a great character. And another one was Sam Seven, who was, I don't know, some futuristic detective, but anyway, that was Spectre. That was the character. And Sam Seven wasn't a good story, but the character was really good. So we never threw it away. We always kept it in a drawer and then in our ideas file. And then Carlos wanted to do something new, and I wanted to do something new, and I dug out this character, and I probably thought for about 2 months on it before I came up with Spectre. I wrote the first episode of it, and Carlos wrote back to me, said, "You still fucking got it."
Fantastic.
Yeah, I kept the email, still got it in the Spectre file. That was the origin of that one, but I suppose it combined a love of noir with a love of robots. So it was a perfect vehicle. I don't know what I would do with it, though. People say you're going to do a follow-up, but I don't know what I would do with it now. It's a bit like Rock after this Rock story. I'm not sure where it goes. Probably I'd better leave it, although I like writing Rock so much that I might work on thinking up a new story.
Well, I was going to ask about, Rock the World, isn't it? Yeah, sorry, my brain did a fart then. Because that's what, the 3rd Rock story?
3rd one, yeah.
What's been the... The origins of it are in Doomlord. Yeah, which is still one of my all-time favourite comic strips.
Yeah,
and it's a tragedy that we're not in a position to be able to do like a nice big fat collection of it. But explain a little bit about the genesis of Rock and why you've kept it going. That's 3 books, and you I think you've talked before about the challenges you've faced with kickstarting the first one, wasn't it?
Well, it starts with Doomlord. I mean, Doomlord, obviously it started with the photo strip in Eagle, which was very interesting to do. I mean, I don't suppose artists enjoyed it because they got cut out. But it was quite interesting thinking, like, I don't think they eventually used it, but like when we wrote the first story, I said, okay, his spaceship is a colander with a light bulb in it. And thinking of all the things you could do to keep it cheap.
Oh, so as the scripters, you were suggesting how.
Yeah, we were suggesting how to do it.
Brilliant.
But I don't know if they listened to us because the photographers probably had better ideas.
Yeah.
But once again, he was just I think the original idea was he was to come to Earth and judge the human race. I'm not sure about that, but I think that's what it was. But as usual, that was as much as we knew when it started. And then it just snowballed in a way, and we just had a lot of fun with it. What can happen next? What can happen next? And in the end, we didn't know where it was going, and we didn't know he was going to have a son, and we didn't know that he was going to turn pro-human race. But anyway, it was a good story. And when I was working with DNA on the Judge Dredd film, I mentioned Doomlord to them, the idea, and they were quite interested in doing a film of it.
Oh, wow, okay.
They wanted it like set in Scotland, in Port Glasgow. He was to arrive and, live with a family just like he did in the original story, and possibly be there. I don't know whether he was going to be there to judge the human race, but then we found out that the Dan Dare Corporation had bought Doomlord.
Yeah.
And DNA wouldn't touch it.
Right.
So I was quite annoyed about it. I quite wanted to write Doomlord as a movie. It would have made quite a good movie, very much in DNA's style. So I got my lawyer in America to write to them, and we had a bit of a to and fro. And so the upshot of it was we don't use Doomlord and they don't use Doomlord.
Right.
Because I dispute that they have the rights to it because clearly they have no proof.
Right.
Anyway, Alan and I were working on a new comic. We were going to rival, I don't know, Eagle or 2000 AD, and we were coming up with a load of stories.
Yeah.
And we were looking for a football story. And it just occurred to me, I said, why don't we do an alien footballer like Doomlord? And so we wrote the first episode of it. It was just 3 or 4 pages, and in the eventual story, Kyle was nasty to his landlady.
Right.
But in the story we wrote, it was his mum. He was really nasty. He was a horror, real horror. So anyway, we decided after a while that a lot of the ideas eventually got used one way or another. But we decided if we tried to do this comic, we were going to bankrupt ourselves. Comics is an expensive business.
Yeah.
So the first episode of what it was called then was Rom of the Rovers.
Right.
Got put in the file and left there. And then many years later, I was speaking to Shah Nazir, who did Black-Hearted Press, and he was keen to do a story with me. So the first thing I thought of was this pornographic story that Alan and I had written. Once again, something that we decided to abandon. It was called Randy Truckers in Space. And it was, somebody actually asked me for a copy of it. He said he would pay for it, but I said, well, look, just stick £10 in a charity box and I'll send you a copy. So anyway, it was about the adventures of Captain Napoleon Boner and his crew. We wrote the first episode, which was quite funny. We thought it was anyway. But I suggested this to Shah. I said, "Oh, we'll do this for you." And Shah was, well, he's a pretty straight guy. And he said, "Oh," but because it was me, he wanted to do it. So he said, "Okay." And I said, "I'll get Carlos to draw it." And Carlos did a couple of sketches, and then he decided, no, he wasn't going to do it. My wife was saying, "Don't do this. This is not going to do you any good." And after Carlos backed out, I contacted Ian Gibson, who would have drawn a really nice pornographic story, and Ian said he would do it. And then we sent him the script, and he said no, he wouldn't do it. Or I sent him the script. Alan wasn't involved at this point. So he said he wouldn't do it, and so I thought, oh, fuck it. I thought, oh, wait a minute, there's Realm of the Rovers. So I said, how about a football story? And Shah, she was very glad to hear about this. So I took the story and adapted this 3 or 4 page opener to a 20-page opener, which is pretty much along the same lines. But it's very much the idea that Alan and I had envisaged. So that's why Alan gets a credit, because it was largely based on the work we'd done on Doomlord and on that script. So I did that, and but I ended up paying for the art and paying for the colour myself, and thinking in my arrogance that, oh yeah, I'll get it all back. And at the time I think I had just taken my pension. And I blew the whole thing on that. I probably lost about 20 grand. Jeez. Paying for the art and, all sorts of things. And I've never got it back. But I don't learn. And Dan, you know the story of Dan, how he was driving a bus, and I sent him an email. I spoke to Dave Evans, who was doing Zarjazz and Dog Breath, and Dan was one of his artists, and he said, "That's your man." And I liked what he was doing, so I sent him an email, and he read it on the bus. Said, "Have you ever drawn football, and would you like to draw a story with me?" And he thought it was a joke. So he crashed the bus. That's what I say. He didn't. But anyway, he was quite a discovery, because he is so good. Anyway, once the first one was done, I hadn't learned. And I thought, okay, we'll kickstart the next one, and it'll pay for itself. Of course it didn't. Although we pulled in, after deductions, we pulled in about 24 grand.
Okay.
But I had to get Jenny, my wife, to put in 3 grand of that. And Jim Campbell put in another 500 and stuff. So that all had to be paid back. Although I've never really got around to paying Jim back properly, although I've been paying him royalties. So he's had most of it. So I lost money on it, not as much as the first time, but I'd never been paid for a rock script. So I wrote the whole thing for nothing. And you're going to write a piece on this, Reg?
Hello. Yeah.
Anyway, it was so much fun to do. And we really wanted to do a third one. But I just, spent all my money. I couldn't afford it again. And I'd tried Matt before, but because he was doing Roy of the Rovers, there was no place for it.
Yeah.
But Roy of the Rovers had been shelved for a while. And lo and behold, Matt said, yeah. So we're doing Rock the World, and I've actually been paid for scripts. Not that much. but that's good. So it's been a pleasure to do, and it's the story, as people probably realize, is based on the first Doomlord, and it's about my worries for the future of mankind.
Right.
And as I've said in other places, basically I think we're fucked. I don't see any hope for us. I'll live out my life, it'll be fine, but generations to come are going to be in deep shit. I wish I could say different, but I don't. I can't see it. I mean, you've got people like Trump who's just pulled the United States out of whatever the climate thing.
Yeah.
Can't remember. So, and the United States are the world's biggest polluters. And China, although they have the greatest number of wind farms, and they sort of probably double, they put as many new wind farms up every year as the whole of the rest of the world. They're still building coal-fired stations. You know, look at us, we're burning.
Yeah, but to be fair, we're on a hillside in Shropshire. So,
true.
It's fitting.
But I mean, I was trying to recycle like coffee pods, and I thought, oh, fuck it. You know, the world's fucked anyway. Why should... And Nespresso make it so difficult now. Like they don't come and collect them the way they used to. So I just put them in the bin now. I try and do my little bit, but I don't do enough. I should be a vegetarian, but I'm not.
I guess it's probably difficult. But my dad's just a few years older than you. He turns 80 this year. Probably difficult for anyone of that generation to look back and at the decisions that were made in their lifetime, in your lifetime, and think, well, we didn't know. We were living our lives without any significant power, but at the same time, you've been writing a prescient warning about everything for 50 years.
I know, for a long while we didn't know, but we have known for a good while.
Yeah.
That I don't think we quite fully realised how bad things were. If we could stop now, if we would just realise now the damage that we're doing, but basically it's greed, human greed, that stops us. The fact that, was it something like the 6th of January, early in January, the top 1% had used up their whole allotment of carbon.
Yeah.
And I really hate people. I mean, I like some people, but people as a maybe I hate the top 1% of people. I hate a lot of 70 million Americans I hate too. I just wish we would see sense. But we won't, and even our own government, the British government's not doing anything. Look at Cameron and his get rid of the green crap and all that.
Well, when we've got a Home Secretary who is talking in positive terms about creating a panopticon that means the eyes of the state will be on us at all times, that's probably not a good sign that things are going to go well.
No. No, and all this business about proscribing Palestinian action, that was just crazy. They weren't terrorists. To call them terrorists is ridiculous.
I mean, to a degree, do you feel a bit crazy that what you wrote as parody and Satire on what at the time was a pretty right-wing government has come to pass by and large.
Yeah. I don't think I thought deeply enough about it to think that it actually would. It was just a fantasy. But here we are. I always say if you throw enough mud at a wall, some of it sticks. I threw a lot of mud at the wall.
Yeah. If you were to create Dredd now, how would you do it differently?
I don't think I'd do it very differently. The one thing that happened while I was taking my sabbatical from it was that I originally wrote it with judges and police. You see, it never made sense to me. The way I saw them was sort of 15 years Jesuit type training. They're on traffic duty. That make no sense at all. I mean, they have to be the sort of your basic level of workers.
Yeah.
And the judges on a level above them.
Well, like you get in France, where you've got the security police and the gendarmes.
Yeah. There have to be the basic functionaries. Whereas, but I also had like a Dredd starting out in court and then getting on his bike, which I can see was unnecessary. Just to be on a bike out on the streets, that's fine. So some good things happened and some things I didn't agree with, and I don't quite know how the city expanded down to Miami. But it made no sense because you take a place like Istanbul, which doesn't cover that much territory, but probably has about 30 million people in it. So, if you took from New York down to maybe Baltimore, you could encapsulate 400 million people in that. When you take it down to Miami, and you're getting quite a wide spread, It made no sense. That's why Alan and I did the Apocalypse War, to get rid of all that, to contract the city again.
Well, it's always people's concept of scale, both in terms of geography and numbers, is always off. So your average person doesn't understand the concept of risk. So if you say there's a 90% risk of something not happening, they'll focus on the 10% that it might happen. So you end up with people playing lotteries and things like that. But I'm always struck by how at the beginning of the Dredd film, the 2012 Dredd film, when Dredd's saying this is how many crimes we deal with every single day, and somebody pointed out that's roughly the crime rate in modern day America. Like it's not extreme enough, but if you make it too extreme, to a degree you lose people's sense of disbelief.
If you analyse some of the stuff we said in the Graveyard Shift, you find it makes absolutely no sense. We just threw in figure out what are we saying.
What sounds extreme compared to now, kind of thing.
Well, it was extreme. Miles of roadway or whatever.
Well, thank you so much for listening, Earthlets. I hope you enjoyed the second part of this interview. Some amazing insights from John, not just about the stories he creates, but his view of the world. Let's put it that way. We will be back in 7 day time for the third part of this interview as we round things out, talking a little bit about story structure, how he writes things, and rounding out with an overview of the last 50 odd years of his career. So please do tune in for that. Make sure you subscribe and like the 2000 AD Thrillcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and your favorite podcast app. And do spread the word to other Earthlets who, might be interested in becoming Squatstick Thargo. In the meantime, we shall see you in a week. And until then, Splendid Verth Fig Earthlets.